I stood outside the massage shop at 7 in the morning, watching through the window as Fa arrived for her shift. She didn't know I was there. Didn't know what I'd discovered. Didn't know that everything she'd built over the past month, the careful lies, the fabricated emergencies, the tears she could summon on command, was about to collapse around her. She walked in with that same gentle smile she'd used to charm me. The shy, innocent expression that made you want to protect her, provide for her, be the strong man she needed. She was good at it. I'll give her that. She'd fooled me completely, at least for a while. But I'm from Texas, and where I come from, we have a saying, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, that just doesn't happen." She tried it anyway. That was her mistake. I pushed open the door and walked inside. The shop owner, a nervous little man named Coon Prazard, who'd been unaware his establishment was being used as a hunting ground, looked up from behind the counter. He knew what was coming. We'd talked the night before. Fa turned when she heard the door chime. When she saw my face, her expression flickered just for a second before she recovered and put on her concerned girlfriend act. "John, what are you doing here so early? Is everything okay?" I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots I'd taken from her device, and handed it to Coon Prazard. "Show her," I said. He scrolled through the messages. The conversations with Sister 2, actually her Thai boyfriend, the same man who'd played the threatening debt collector. The planning discussions for the staged robbery. The casual comments about me being a good target and how much more they could extract before I caught on. Fa's face went pale. The mask slipped, revealing something harder underneath, something calculating and cold. "John, I can explain." "No," I said. "You can't. Because I followed you last night. I saw you meet with your boyfriend, the cousins who robbed you, the whole crew. I watched you laugh about me." She started crying. Of course she did. It was her go-to move, the weapon she'd deployed against me over and over. But this time, the tears had no effect. "Save it," I said. "I've already sent everything to every expat group in Phuket. By tonight, every foreign man on this island will know your name, your face, and exactly what you do." The crying stopped abruptly. Her eyes went hard. "You think you can ruin me?" she hissed. "You're just another stupid Farang. I'll find more like you. There's always more." I leaned in close. "Not in Phuket, you won't. Not anywhere tourists go. Your face is everywhere now. Your game is over." I turned and walked out, leaving her standing in the middle of the shop, her carefully constructed life crumbling around her. She thought she could scam me, thought I was just another lonely foreigner with more money than sense. She picked the wrong guy. If you've been enjoying the stories I create, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. My name is Jonathan Reeves. Most people call me John. I'm 52 years old, born and raised in the Texas Panhandle, and I've spent my entire adult life working with my hands. I started in the oil fields at 18, roughneck work, dangerous and brutal, the kind of job that separates men from boys real quick. The Permian Basin in those days was booming, and if you could handle the heat, the long hours, and the constant threat of injury, you could make good money. I worked my way up from the bottom, started as a roustabout, moved to derrick hand, eventually became a driller. But what I really loved was the mechanical side, fixing the equipment that broke down, keeping the rigs running when everything else was falling apart. At 25, I got certified as a welder. Best decision I ever made. Welding is an art form, even if most people don't see it that way. The way metal flows together under heat, the precision required to make a joint that'll hold under pressure, there's a satisfaction in that kind of work that you can't get sitting behind a desk. I spent 15 years as an oil field welder before going independent. By 40, I had my own shop in Midland, doing contract work for drilling companies and fabricating custom equipment for ranchers and farmers across West Texas. The shop was small but steady, and I built up a solid reputation for quality work and fair prices. My personal life was messier. I married young 21 to my high school girlfriend, Maria. We thought we knew what we were doing. We didn't. She wanted a husband who came home every night. I was gone for weeks at a time, chasing work wherever it took me. We lasted 4 years before she filed for divorce and moved to Dallas with a real estate agent who had regular hours. I married again at 35. Her name was Denise, a bookkeeper I met at a barbecue. She seemed practical, understanding, the kind of woman who could handle a man with an unpredictable schedule. She wasn't What Denise wanted was my money, or rather, access to it. I didn't realize until later how much she was spending while I was out on jobs. Designer clothes, expensive trips with her girlfriends, credit card bills that made my eyes water. When I confronted her about it, she turned it around on me, said I was never home anyway, so what did I expect her to do? Sit alone waiting for me? We divorced when I was 42. It cost me about a third of everything I'd saved, plus ongoing alimony that didn't end until she remarried 3 years later. The experience left me bitter about women and relationships in general. I threw myself into work after that, built up the shop, took on bigger contracts, started making real money. By 50, I had about $400,000 in the bank, not wealthy by oil industry standards, but comfortable for a man with no kids and simple tastes. Then I turned 52, and something shifted. I looked at my life, the shop, the empty house, the endless cycle of work and more work, and felt a hollowness I couldn't ignore anymore. I'd spent 30-plus years building financial security, but for what? To die alone in a Texas hospital with a pile of money that meant nothing? I sold the shop, got a good price for it, enough to push my savings past $400,000, and set myself up for whatever came next. I started doing contract welding work, taking jobs when I wanted them and saying no when I didn't. The freedom was disorienting at first, but I got used to it. A buddy of mine, Carl, had been spending winters in Thailand for years. He couldn't stop talking about it, the weather, the food, the friendly people, the cost of living that made American prices seem insane. He finally convinced me to visit. I flew to Phuket in November, planning to stay for 3 weeks and see if the place was worth all the hype. Within 1 week, I understood what Carl had been talking about. The warmth seeped into my bones, melting tension I hadn't even known I was carrying. The food was incredible. And the people, Thai people, smiled at you, welcomed you, made you feel like a guest in their country rather than an intruder. I extended my stay to 2 months, then 3. By March, I was looking at condos and wondering why I'd ever live anywhere else. The loneliness came with me, of course. It always does. But in Thailand, it felt less crushing somehow. The culture was built around community, connection, taking care of each other. Even as a foreigner who barely spoke the language, I felt more welcome than I ever had in my empty house in Midland. That's the state I was in when I met Fa. Lonely, hopeful, desperate for something that felt real. She read me like a book and played me like a fiddle. I'd been on a dive trip to the Similan Islands, 3 days of underwater exploration that left me physically exhausted but mentally peaceful. My shoulders ached from carrying gear, and my back was complaining about the hours spent in uncomfortable boat bunks. A massage seemed like exactly what I needed. The shop was small, tucked away on a side street in Kata Beach, far from the tourist crowds of Patong. That's why I chose it. I'd learned to avoid the main tourist areas, where everything was overpriced and everyone was trying to sell you something. The quieter neighborhoods felt more authentic, more Thai. The interior was simple but clean, soft lighting, the smell of lemongrass, calm music playing from somewhere in the back. A young woman stood at the counter, dressed in the traditional loose pants and tunic that massage therapists wore. She wasn't beautiful in the obvious way of the girls who worked the beer bars. She looked natural, modest, almost shy. "Welcome," she said softly. "You want massage? 2 hours. Thai massage if you can." She nodded and led me to a private room in the back. The space was small but comfortable, with a padded mat on the floor and curtains that blocked the light from outside. "My name is Fa," she said as I settled onto the mat. "Please tell me if pressure too much." The massage was excellent, professional, skilled, exactly what my worn-out body needed. But what caught my attention was the conversation. Thai massage therapists often chat with their clients. It passes the time and builds the kind of rapport that leads to repeat business. But Fa's conversation felt different, more personal, more interested. "You are on holiday?" she asked as she worked on my shoulders. "Semi-retired, I guess. Staying here for a while, seeing if I like it." "What you do before?" "Welder. I fix things, built things." "Ah, working man. I respect that. My father was working man too. Farmer. Very hard life." We talked throughout the massage about her family in Konkan province, about my life in Texas, about the challenges of adjusting to a new country. She listened attentively, asked thoughtful questions, seemed genuinely interested in my answers. "You remind me of my father," she said at one point. "Kind man, strong but gentle." Something about the way she said it, soft, almost vulnerable, touched something inside me. I hadn't been compared to anyone's father in years. The idea that I could represent safety and kindness to someone felt like a gift I didn't know I needed. When the massage ended, I gave her a generous tip, probably too generous. But she'd made me feel good in ways that went beyond the physical therapy. She accepted it with a shy smile and a small bow. "You come back again?" she asked as I paid at the counter. "Probably. That was the best massage I've had in Thailand." "I glad you like. I work every day except Sunday." I came back 2 days later, and 3 days after that. Each time, Fa was available, and each time, our conversations grew longer and more personal. She told me about her life in the Northeast, the poverty of her village, the rice farms that barely produced enough to survive, her decision to move south and find work in the tourist industry. She tried many jobs. She said waitress, hotel maid, shop assistant before settling on massage therapy. "I don't like party life," she said one afternoon. "Some girls, they go to bars, find farang boyfriend for money. Not me. I want simple life, honest work, maybe someday, family with good man." She looked at me when she said it, a quick, almost nervous glance, and I felt my heart shift in a way I hadn't expected. It was exactly what I wanted to hear, and that's exactly why I should have been suspicious. Our relationship developed quickly, though I didn't think of it that way at the time. Fa started texting me between massage appointments, just small messages, wishing me good morning or asking how my day was going. The attention felt good. The connection felt real. About 2 weeks after we'd met, she asked if I wanted to have dinner with her after her shift ended. She knew a local restaurant. She said not a tourist place, just a small family kitchen where the food was authentic and cheap. I agreed immediately. The restaurant was exactly as she'd described. Plastic tables under a corrugated roof, Thai families eating noodles and rice dishes, no English menus or tourist prices. Fa ordered for both of us, explaining each dish as it arrived. The food was incredible, and her company was even better. "I like spend time with you," she said as we finished eating. "You don't treat me like massage girl. You treat me like person." "Because you are a person," I said. "A good one. From what I can tell." She reached across the table and took my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it felt enormous. "Thai men," she said. "They want young girl, pretty face. They don't care about inside. Farang men, some same, but you different. You look at me, not just my body." "I've been burned before," I admitted. 2 divorces. Both times I thought I knew the woman, and both times I was wrong. Made me careful about who I trust. "I understand. I've been hurt too. Thai boyfriend before he hit me. I leave him, come to Phuket, start new life." She squeezed my hand. "Now, I very careful. Only trust good man. And you, I feel you're good man." By the end of that dinner, something had shifted between us. We weren't just acquaintances anymore. We were something more. Over the following week, Fa became a constant presence in my life. She'd come to my Airbnb after work, cook dinner using ingredients she'd picked up at the market, clean up even when I told her it wasn't necessary. She'd sit next to me on the balcony, watching the sunset, holding my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I don't want money from you," she said one evening when I tried to give her cash for groceries. "I want only time with you. Money can go away. Time together is what matters." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She never asked for anything expensive. She refused gifts that seemed too extravagant. She worked her massage job and lived simply, never complaining about what she didn't have. She seemed perfect, and that perfection should have been my first warning. But I was lonely, and she was kind, and after 2 failed marriages, I was desperate to believe that maybe this time would be different. The first request for money came about a week later. We were sitting on the beach, watching the waves roll in, when Fa's phone buzzed with a message. She looked at it, and her face went pale. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My mother," she whispered. "She in hospital. My sister says she collapsed at home. They take her to hospital in Khon Kaen." She showed me the message, Thai text I couldn't read, but a photo attached of an older woman lying in a hospital bed, tubes connected to her arm. The woman's face was drawn and tired. "Is she okay? What happened?" "They don't know yet. They say she need tests. Blood test, heart test, many things. Fa's eyes filled with tears. I scared John. My mother is only family I have. If something happened to her, I held her while she cried. The tears seemed real. Her whole body shook. Her breathing came in gasps. Whatever acting skills she had, she deployed them perfectly in that moment. How much do the tests cost? I asked eventually. I don't know. Maybe 20,000, 30,000 baht? My family have no money. I send what I can every month, but not enough for hospital. I can help, I said. The words came out automatically. A woman I cared about was in distress, and I had money. What else was I supposed to do? No, John, I can't ask you for that. It's my problem, my family. You're not asking. I'm offering. How much do you need? She wiped her eyes and looked at me with something that seemed like profound gratitude. Maybe 22,000 baht? Just for tests. If they find something serious, I don't know. I'll transfer it now. Give me your bank details. She protested weakly. Are you sure? I feel bad taking your money. But accepted when I insisted. I transferred 22,000 baht through my Thai banking app, watching the confirmation come through. Thank you, she said, hugging me tightly. I pay you back when I can, I promise. Don't worry about it. Family comes first. The next few days, Fa kept me updated on her mother's condition. The tests had come back inconclusive, she said. They needed to do more procedures. Her mother was stable but weak. The doctors were optimistic but cautious. I didn't question any of it. The story was plausible. The evidence seemed real. And Fa's distress appeared genuine. It never occurred to me that the photo might be stolen from the internet, that the messages from her sister might be fabricated, that the entire emergency might be a carefully rehearsed performance. Looking back, I can see how perfectly she played it. The gradual buildup of trust over weeks. The reluctance to accept money that made me more insistent on giving it. The specific amount large enough to matter, but small enough not to trigger suspicion. 22,000 baht, about $600. It was just the beginning. The second request came 10 days later. We were having dinner at a seafood restaurant near the beach, my treat. As usual, when Fa's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and her face went white. Excuse me, she said, her voice strained. I need take this. She stepped away from the table, and I watched her through the restaurant window. She was speaking rapidly in Thai, her body language increasingly agitated. At one point, she put her hand over her mouth like she was trying not to cry. When she came back to the table, she was trembling. What's wrong? I asked immediately. I don't want to bother you with my problems. Fa, tell me, what's going on? She took a deep breath. My brother. He owed money to bad people. He borrowed to help family. But now he cannot pay. They say if he don't pay, they will hurt him. Hurt him? Like? Physically? She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. These men, they are dangerous. Loan sharks. In Thailand, they don't go to police. They solve problems themselves. How much does he owe? 38,000 baht. I have some money saved, maybe 10,000, but not enough. And my mother's still sick, so I've been sending her money too. I don't know what to do. The tears started flowing freely now. She looked small and helpless. A woman trapped by circumstances beyond her control. I'll help, I said. We'll pay them off, get your brother out of trouble. John, no. You already help with my mother. I can't keep taking your money. It's not about the money. It's about keeping your family safe. How do I get the payment to them? She hesitated, then named an amount 38,000 baht and gave me account details where the money should be sent. She said her brother's contact had given her the information that paying through the bank would satisfy the debt. I transferred the money that night. Another $1,100. Gone. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known without being there, was that the phone call had been staged. The debt collector was actually her Thai boyfriend, playing a role they'd rehearsed dozens of times with dozens of targets. The account I'd sent money to belonged to her cousin. The loan shark story was fiction. Her brother wasn't in danger. The whole thing was a performance designed to extract maximum sympathy and maximum cash. But the performance wasn't over yet. The staged robbery was the crown jewel of their operation. It happened about a week after the debt collector incident. Fa and I had gone for an evening walk along Kata Beach, something we'd started doing regularly, watching the sunset and enjoying each other's company. The beach was quieter than usual. Most tourists had gone back to their hotels for dinner, leaving just a few couples and local fishermen. We walked along the shoreline, waves lapping at our feet, talking about nothing in particular. Then I heard the motorbike. It came up fast behind us, too fast for a casual beach drive. Before I could react, 2 men on the bike swooped past, and one of them grabbed Fa's purse right off her shoulder. She screamed. The bike roared away into the darkness before I could even process what had happened. "My purse!" Fa was hysterical, tears streaming down her face. "Everything in there. My ID, my phone, all my money." I held her while she sobbed. My heart was pounding, partly from the shock of the robbery, partly from anger that I hadn't been able to protect her. "It's okay," I said. "We'll report it to the police. We'll get your ID replaced." "And your hotel card?" she wailed. "It was in my purse, the key to your room. They know where you're staying." This detail hit me hard. If the robbers had my hotel key card, they could theoretically access my room, steal my passport, my laptop, my valuables. "We need to get you a new key immediately," Fa said through her tears. "A new ID for me, everything." "Oh, John, I'm so scared. What if they come back? What if they hurt us?" We went to my hotel and got the room rekeyed, a simple enough process, but it reinforced the narrative that we were both victims of a random crime. Then we spent the next 2 days replacing Fa's documents and helping her recover from the trauma. I gave her 16,000 baht to replace the cash that had supposedly been in her purse. I gave her another 10,000 for a new phone and miscellaneous expenses. I comforted her when she cried, held her when she said she felt violated, reassured her that everything would be okay. The total from the robbery incident came to about 26,000 baht. Combined with the previous extractions, I'd given her approximately 86,000 baht, about $2,300 over the course of a month. Not enough to raise alarm bells. Not enough to make me question what was happening. Just enough to be profitable. But Fa got greedy. That was her mistake. The request that broke the spell came 3 days after the robbery. We were having breakfast at my condo when Fa's phone buzzed with a message. She read it and her face crumpled into the now familiar expression of distress. "What now?" I asked, though I was starting to feel something I couldn't quite name. Not suspicion, exactly. More like exhaustion. "It's my boss at the massage shop," she said, her voice trembling. "He say I must pay 90,000 baht or I lose my job." 90,000? For what? There was problem with customer. Complaint. He say I damage reputation of shop, and I must pay compensation, or he fire me and tell other shops not to hire me. What kind of complaint? I don't know exactly. He won't tell me. Just say I must pay, or everything I work for is gone. John, please, I don't know what to do. If I lose this job, I have nothing. I can't go back to my village. My family need me to earn money." She started crying. The same tears, the same trembling voice, the same helpless desperation. And that's when I noticed something. The script was identical, not just similar, identical. The same phrases, the same emotional beats, the same progression from denial to desperation to tearful acceptance of help. It was like watching a recording of our previous conversations, played back with slightly different details. "My family has no money. I can't ask you for this. I don't know what to do. Please, John." I'd heard these exact words before, multiple times. And now, hearing them again, something clicked into place. This wasn't genuine distress. This was a performance, a rehearsed script that she'd probably used on dozens of men before me. I didn't say anything. I kept my face neutral, nodded at the appropriate moments, made sympathetic noises. But inside, something had shifted. The fog of infatuation was lifting, replaced by a cold, analytical clarity. "Let me think about it," I said. 90,000 is a lot of money. I need to check my accounts, see what I can do. You would really help me? Her eyes were wide with what looked like hope. "John, you are too kind. I don't deserve you. We'll figure something out. Just give me a day or two." She hugged me, thanked me profusely, promised to pay me back someday. But I noticed something in her eyes, a flicker of calculation, quickly hidden. She thought she had me, thought the 90,000 was as good as in her account. She was wrong. That night, after she fell asleep beside me, I started my investigation. I waited until her breathing was deep and regular before I moved. Her phone was on the nightstand, charging. I'd seen her pinned dozens of times. She wasn't careful about hiding it, so getting in was easy. What I found inside changed everything. The messages were extensive. Dozens of conversations with contacts saved under innocent names. Sister 2, Mama, Friend Noi, that were clearly not what they appeared to be. Sister 2 was clearly a man. The conversation was casual, flirtatious, the kind of banter you'd have with a romantic partner, not a sibling. And the content was damning. Tomorrow night motorbike again? He believe everything. Very easy. Foreigner is good target. Has money but stupid about Thailand. How much you get so far? Almost 90K. Going to ask for more tonight. I screenshot everything. Page after page of conversations detailing their operation. The sick mother scam, they called it Mama Hospital. The debt collector set up brother money. The staged robbery motorbike grab. All of it planned, rehearsed, executed with precision. The man she called Sister 2 appeared to be her boyfriend, the same person who'd played the threatening debt collector. His real name, based on other messages, was Chai. He was the coordinator, the one who gave her scripts and coached her on how to handle different types of marks. There were photos, too. Fa with Chai, clearly a couple. Fa with other men, foreigners like me, in what were obviously staging photos for future scams. Screenshots of bank transfers from victims celebrated with laughing emojis. I was just one of many. A mark, a target, a stupid farang to be exploited and discarded. The anger hit me like a physical force. I wanted to wake her up right then, confront her, demand an explanation, but I forced myself to stay calm. Confrontation without preparation was exactly what she'd be ready for. She'd cry, deny, manipulate all the tactics she'd perfected over years of practice. I needed more. I needed to destroy her completely. I put her phone back exactly where I'd found it and lay in the darkness, planning my next move. The next day, I told Fa I had some business to handle and wouldn't be available. She seemed slightly annoyed, probably worried that the 90,000 baht request was slipping away, but accepted my excuse. What I actually did was follow her. It wasn't difficult. Phuket isn't that big, and Fa stuck to predictable patterns. She went to the massage shop for her shift, worked for a few hours, then left early, claiming she wasn't feeling well. I watched from across the street as she walked to a motorbike parked around the corner. A man was waiting, young Thai guy, maybe late 20s, with the kind of cocky posture that suggested he thought highly of himself. Chai, the boyfriend. Sister 2. They hugged, kissed, then rode off together on the bike. I followed in a taxi, keeping enough distance to avoid detection. They went to a noodle shop in a part of town. I'd never visited local neighborhood, no tourists, the kind of place where they could speak freely without worrying about being overheard. I found a spot where I could watch them through the window. They were joined by 2 other men, younger, rougher looking, and another woman who worked at the same massage shop as Fa. The 5 of them talked and laughed, clearly comfortable with each other. At one point, Chai pulled out his phone and showed the others something. They burst out laughing. I couldn't hear what was said, but I could imagine probably the messages I'd sent. Fa. The sappy declarations of affection, the naive promises of support. They were laughing at me. The anger crystallized into something harder, something colder. This wasn't just about me anymore. These people ran a criminal operation, targeting lonely men, exploiting emotional vulnerabilities, stealing money through systematic deception. They needed to be stopped. I took photos from my vantage point, Fa with Chai, the group laughing together, anything that documented their connection. Then I went back to my condo and started building my case. I spent 2 days compiling everything I'd gathered. The screenshots from Fa's phone, the surveillance photos from the noodle shop, bank records showing my transfers to accounts connected to her network. The timeline of our entire relationship, annotated with the moments where she'd deployed each scam. I also did some research. It turned out the robbers on the motorbike matched descriptions of Fa's cousins, men who'd been mentioned in passing during our conversations, whom I'd never met but whose names appeared in her phone contacts. The staged robbery wasn't random violence. It was a coordinated operation involving at least 5 people. Fa, Chai, the 2 cousins, and possibly the other massage girl who provided support and cover stories. The total I'd lost was about 86,000 baht, around $2,300. Not a fortune by American standards, but significant for what it represented. A systematic, calculated betrayal of trust. I could have gone to the police, probably should have, But I'd heard enough stories from other expats about how difficult it was to pursue fraud cases in Thailand. The amounts were too small to interest most investigators, the evidence was circumstantial, and the perpetrators could simply deny everything and claim I was a bitter ex-lover seeking revenge. I needed a different approach, something that would hurt them where it mattered most, their ability to operate. The massage shop was key. It was their hunting ground, the place where Fa found her victims. If the shop owner knew what was happening under his roof, he might be liable for their crimes. At minimum, he'd want to distance himself from anything that could cost him his license. I requested a meeting with Kun Prozard, the shop owner, presenting myself as a concerned customer who'd discovered something troubling. Kun Prozard was a small, nervous man in his 50s who'd owned the massage shop for 12 years. His English was limited, so I brought a translator, another expat named Dave, who spoke fluent Thai and had helped foreigners navigate difficult situations before. We met at a coffee shop neutral territory, away from Fa's potential eavesdropping. I laid out everything I'd discovered. The screenshots, the photos, the timeline of the scam operation. Kun Prozard's face went pale as Dave translated the evidence. He says he had no idea, Dave relayed. He says Fa has worked for him for 8 months, always professional, never any complaints. Tell him that his shop is being used as a hunting ground. Fa meets victims there, builds trust through massage appointments, then runs scams outside of work. If this becomes public, his business reputation is destroyed. Maybe worse, maybe he faces legal trouble for employing a known scammer. Dave translated. Kun Prozard looked like he was going to be sick. A long conversation in Thai followed. I caught fragments. Agitated questions. Defensive responses. Gradually shifting to what sounded like resignation. He says he'll fire her immediately, Dave reported. He's embarrassed this happened at his shop. He wants to know if there's anything else he can do to make this right. Tell him I appreciate his cooperation. And tell him that if he hears about Fa trying to work at any other massage shop in Phuket, I'd appreciate a heads up. The meeting ended with handshakes and apologies. Kun Prozard seemed genuinely horrified by what had been happening under his nose. Whether that was authentic or just good acting, I couldn't say, but he had every incentive to cut ties with Fa and her crew. That took care of her employment. But I wasn't done. The expat community in Phuket is tight-knit. Foreigners look out for each other, share warnings about scams and dangerous situations, and maintain active social media groups where information spreads quickly. I'd been lurking in these groups since I arrived, reading stories from other men who'd been targeted by romance scammers. Some were cautionary tales, others were just bitter complaints. But the groups served a valuable purpose. They warned newcomers about known predators. I spent an evening preparing a comprehensive post. Names, photos, detailed descriptions of how the scam worked, screenshots from Fa's phone showing the planning conversations, photos from my surveillance linking her to Chai and the cousins. I posted it to every relevant Facebook group I could find. Expat communities in Phuket, Pattaya, Bangkok, Chiang Mai. Dating forums where foreign men discussed Thai relationships. Warning groups specifically dedicated to scam awareness. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, my post had been shared hundreds of times. Comments flooded in, some from men who recognized Fa from other contexts, others who'd had similar experiences with different women using the same techniques. One Australian man said Fa had approached him at the same massage shop 6 months earlier, but he'd gotten suspicious when she asked for money too quickly. A German man recognized one of the cousins from a staged robbery attempt near Patong Beach. An American said the sick mother photo was the same one used by a different scammer he'd encountered in Bangkok. The network's faces were now everywhere. Every foreign man planning to visit Phuket would see their photos in the warning posts. Every massage shop owner would recognize them and think twice about hiring them. Every future mark would have access to detailed information about how the scam worked. I didn't stop there. I found Chai's Facebook profile and sent the evidence directly to everyone on his friends list. I identified the massage shop where Fa's accomplice worked and contacted that owner as well. I even found the apartment complex where Chai lived and had Dave help me report suspicious activity to the building management. Was it overkill? Maybe. But these people had built their lives around exploiting lonely foreigners, and I wanted to make sure that life was over. The consequences for Fa and her crew were swift and brutal. The morning after my exposure campaign, Fa showed up at the massage shop for her shift and found herself fired before she could even change into her uniform. Hun Prezert handed her a termination letter and told her to leave the premises immediately. She tried to argue, to cry, to deploy all her usual tactics, but he'd seen the evidence and wanted nothing to do with her. Her accomplice at the shop was fired the same day. 2 other establishments where they tried to find work refused to hire them after owners saw the warning post circulating online. The Thai boyfriend, Chai, found himself exposed as well. His friends and family saw the screenshots showing his role as the fake debt collector and coordinator of the scam ring. His social media became a battleground of angry comments from foreigners who'd been victimized by his operation. Within a week, the whole network had collapsed. Fa couldn't find work anywhere. In Phuket, her face was too well known, the warning posts too widespread. Chai abandoned her, apparently deciding she was too much of a liability to keep around. Her cousins, the staged robbery crew, disappeared to wherever people like that go when their crimes catch up with them. I never confronted Fa directly, not after that morning at the massage shop. There was no point. She knew what had happened and who was responsible. The look on her face when I walked in with the evidence told me everything I needed to know. The last I heard, she'd returned to her village in Khon Kaen. No job, no boyfriend, no prospects. The life she'd built in Phuket, the hunting ground, the network of accomplices, the steady stream of foreign marks, was gone. She wasn't arrested. She didn't go to prison. But in many ways, what happened to her was worse. Prison sentences end. Reputations don't recover. She'll carry the stigma of being a known scammer for the rest of her life. Unable to work in any tourist-facing industry. Unable to run her old cons on unsuspecting foreigners. It's been 8 months since I destroyed Fa's operation. I'm still in Thailand, Phuket specifically, though I've moved to a different part of the island where the memories aren't quite so fresh. I've thought a lot about what happened and what I learned from it. The money I lost, 86,000 baht, was significant but not catastrophic. A few $1,000s in the grand scheme of a reasonably comfortable retirement fund. I could absorb the loss and move on. But the emotional damage was harder to calculate. I trusted someone completely, opened myself up in ways I hadn't since my divorces, and discovered that every moment of intimacy had been a calculated performance. That kind of betrayal leaves scars that don't heal quickly. For a while, I was bitter. Not just about Fa, but about Thai women in general. About the country, about my own stupidity for falling for such obvious manipulation. I withdrew from social connections, spent my days alone, told myself I was better off without any relationships at all. That phase passed eventually. Bitterness is exhausting, and I didn't have the energy to sustain it. I started venturing out again, meeting other expats, rebuilding something like a social life. I'm more careful now, obviously. I don't trust easily. Never did, really. Which makes it even more embarrassing that I fell for Fa's act. I verify stories before sending money. I watch for patterns, the same emotional scripts, the same manufactured emergencies, the same tactics that scammers use over and over because they work. But I haven't closed myself off entirely. That would be letting Fa win in a different way. The goal of her scam wasn't just to steal my money. It was to exploit my basic human need for connection. If I let that experience destroy my capacity for connection, she's achieved something worse than theft. I've met good people here. Other expats who've been through similar experiences and understand the landscape. Thai people who had nothing to do with scam operations and welcomed me despite them. A community of survivors who look out for each other. I'm not dating. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. The wound is still tender, and I'm not sure I have the emotional energy for romance right now. But I'm open to the possibility, which is more than I could have said a few months ago. People ask me sometimes if I regret what I did to Fa. The exposure campaign, the systematic destruction of her livelihood, the public humiliation that followed her back to her village. I don't. She was a predator. Not a desperate woman making difficult choices, but a professional criminal who'd built her entire adult life around exploiting lonely men. She'd done this before me and would have done it after me, extracting thousands of dollars from victim after victim, leaving a trail of broken hearts and empty bank accounts. I stopped her. Not forever. People like her always find new angles, new hunting grounds, but for now, every man who sees her face in a warning post is a potential victim who won't be victimized. Every scammer who hears her story might think twice about targeting foreigners in Phuket. That's worth something. Maybe not justice in the legal sense, but something close to it. She thought she could scam me. Thought I was just another lonely foreigner, desperate for affection, willing to believe any story that came with tears and soft words. She'd done it before, probably dozens of times, and every success had made her more confident. That confidence was her downfall. She got greedy, pushed too hard, recycled the same scripts too obviously. And when I caught on, she assumed I'd do what all her previous victims had done, absorb the loss quietly and slink away in shame. But I'm from Texas. We don't slink away. We fight back. She took my money. 86,000 baht I'll never see again. She took my trust, my hope, my willingness to believe in human decency. But I took something too. I took her job, her boyfriend, her network, her reputation. I took her ability to operate in Phuket, maybe anywhere in Thailand's tourist industry. I took the life she'd built for herself, brick by brick, until there was nothing left but rubble. She picked the wrong guy, and by the time she realized it, it was far too late.